Welcome back to another daily One Year Bible stream. This is pretty late. Sorry it's so late. I did not expect to be doing this late, but the basketball stream lasted way longer than I expected it to. Lasted way longer than I expected it to. But it was a good reason for why. You feel me? But let's get into today's word for the night. What's up, baby? We got Eli under the desk today. We don't have Alfie's not here this time. He's playing over there by himself. Today we have Eli with his nose. You got your nose in the book? With his nose in the book down here. We read it from June the 9th tonight, chat. Let me tell you how I feel. Chat, so tonight we're reading from 1 Kings 5, 1 through 6, going through verse 38. We're going to follow it up with Acts 7, 1 through 29. We're going to follow up Acts with Psalms 127, 1 through 5, and then Proverbs 16, 28 through 30 to wrap up tonight's read, chat. So, you feel me? So let's get into the word, chat. Happy Saturday to you. Happy day 160 in a row to me. You feel me? Appreciate your hard work, Christopher. Limitless. You feel me? And without further ado, let's get into 1 Kings 5, 1 through 6, going through verse 38. So King Hiram of Tyre, what's up, baby, had always been a loyal friend of David. When Hiram learned that David's son Solomon was the new king of Israel, he sent ambassadors to congratulate him. Then Solomon sent this message back to Hiram. You know that my father David was not able to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord his God because of the many wars waged against him by the surrounding nations. He could not build until the Lord gave him victory over all his enemies. But now the Lord my God has given me peace on every side. I have no enemies, and all is well. So I'm planning to build a temple to honor the name of the Lord my God, just as he has instructed my father David. For the Lord told him, your son, whom I will place on your throne, will build a temple to honor my name. Therefore, please command that cedars from Lebanon be cut for me, and let my men work alongside yours, and I will pay your men whatever wages you ask. As you know, there is no one among us who can cut timber like you Sidonians. When Aram received Solomon's message, he was very pleased and said, praise the Lord, today for giving David a wise son to be king of the great nation of Israel. Then he sent this reply to Solomon, I have received your message, and I will supply all the cedar and cypress timber you need. My servants will bring the logs from Lebanon mountains to the Mediterranean Sea and make them into rafts and float them along the coast to whatever place you choose. Then we will break the rafts apart so you can carry them away. You can pay me by supplying me with food for my household. So Hiram supplied as much cedar and cypress timber as Solomon desired. In return, Solomon sent him an annual payment of 100,000 bushels of wheat for his household and 110,000 gallons of pure olive oil. So the Lord gave wisdom to Solomon, just as he had promised. And Hiram and Solomon made a formal alliance of peace. What's up, EPR? Hey, it's always good seeing you, man. What's up? How you doing, Casey? Hey, chat, don't forget to like the stream. You know, if you love God, go ahead and throw a like on that stream, chat. And then King Solomon conscripted a labor force. Let me not use God as a. If you just like the stream, just like the stream. Then King Solomon conscripted a labor force of 30,000 men from all Israel. He sent them to Lebanon in shifts, 10,000 every month, so that each man would be 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of this labor force, and Solomon also had 70,000 common laborers and 80,000 quarry workers in the hill country, and 3,600 foremen to supervise the work. At the king's command, they quarried large blocks of high-quality stone and shaped them to make the foundation of the temple. Men from the city of Gebel helped Solomon's and Hiram's builders prepare the timber and stone for the temple. It was in mid-spring in the month of Ziv, during the 4th year of Solomon's reign, that he began to construct the temple of the Lord. This was 480 years after the people of Israel were rescued from their slavery in the land of Egypt. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was about 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The entry room at the front of the temple was about 30 feet wide, running across the entire width of the temple. It projected outward 15 feet from the front of the temple, and Solomon also made narrow recessed windows throughout the temple. He built a complex of rooms against the outer walls of the temple. Why are you destroying my cards? Come on, dude. What are you doing? You're being bad. You're being bad over here, bro. Chat, Alfie's over here destroying my cards because he wants attention. You're bad, bro. You're going to go timeout later, bro. You're going to timeout later, bro. You're going to timeout later for that. That was mean of you to do that to my stuff. That's crazy. How you doing, Ian? And welcome to the chat, Casey. I'm not sure if I've ever seen you before, but welcome. Okay, let's keep going though. He built a complex of rooms against the outer walls of the temple, all the way around the sides and the rear of the building. The complex was 3 stories high, and the bottom floor being 7.5 feet wide, and the second floor 9 feet wide, and the top floor 10.5 feet wide. The rooms were connected to the walls of the temple by beams resting on ledges built out from the wall. So the beams were not inserted into the walls themselves. The stones used in construction of the temple were finished at the quarry, so there was no sound of hammer, axe, or any other form of tool at the building site. How you doing, half asleep, Bryce? What book and what chapter are you reading? I'm reading from 1 Kings 5:1 through 6. At the building site. We're on verse 8 right now. The entrance to the bottom of the floor was on the south side of the temple, and there were winding stairs going up to the second floor, and another flight of stairs between the second and the third floors. After completing the temple structure, Solomon put in a ceiling made of cedar beams and planks. As already stated, he built a complex of rooms along the sides of the building, attached to the temple walls by cedar timbers. Each story of the complex was 7.5 feet high. Then the Lord gave this message to Solomon: concerning this temple you are building, if you keep all my decrees and regulations and obey all my commands, I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father, David. I will live among the Israelites and will never abandon my people Israel. So Solomon finished building the temple. The entire inside, from the floor to ceiling, was paneled with wood. He paneled the walls and ceilings with cedar, and he used planks of cypress for the floors. He partitioned off in the inner sanctuary, the most holy place, at the far end of the temple. It was 30 feet deep and was paneled with cedar from the floor to ceiling. The main room of the temple, outside the most holy place, was 60 feet long. Cedar paneling completely covered the stone walls throughout the temple, and the paneling was decorated with carvings of gourds and open flowers. He prepared the inner sanctuary at the far end of the temple, where the Ark of the Lord's covenant will be placed. This inner sanctuary was 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 30 feet high. He overlaid the inside with solid gold. He also overlaid the altar made of cedar. Then Solomon overlaid the rest of the temple's interior with solid gold, and he made gold chains to protect the entrance to the most holy place. So he finished overlaying the entire temple with gold, including the altar that belonged to the most holy place. He made 2 cherubim of wild olive wood, each 15 feet tall, and placed them in the inner sanctuary. The wingspan of each of the cherubim was 15 feet, each wing being 7.5 feet long. The 2 cherubim were identical in shape and size. Each was 15 feet tall. He placed them side by side in the inner sanctuary of the temple. Their outspread wings reached from wall to wall, while their inner wings touched at the center of the room. He overlaid the 2 cherubim with gold. He decorated all the walls of the inner sanctuary in the main room with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He overlaid the floor in both rooms with gold. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made double doors of wild olive wood with 5-sided doorposts. These double doors were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. The doors, including decorations of cherubim and palm trees, were overlaid with gold. Then he made 4-sided. Please stop destroying my stuff. So you know when you have a bad kid? Maybe you have a bad kid. My boy Alpha right now is being a bad kid. We can talk later. We're going to talk about this later. He decorated all the walls of the inner sanctuary and the main room with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He overlaid the floor in both rooms with gold. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made double doors of wild olive wood with 5-sided doorposts. These double doors were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. The doors included decoration cherubim and palm trees were overlaid with gold. Then he made 4-sided doorposts of wild olive wood for the entrance to the temple. There were 2 folding doors of cypress wood, and each door was hinged to fold back upon itself. These doors were decorated with the carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, all overlaid evenly with gold. The walls of the inner courtyard were built so that there were one layer of cedar beams between every 3 layers of finished stone. The foundation of the Lord's temple was laid in Mitzrayim in the month of Zib, during the 4th year of Solomon's reign. The entire building was completed in every detail by mid-autumn in the month of Bul, during the 11th year of his reign. So it took 7 years to build the temple. And now, Acts 7:1 through 29. Then the high priest asked Stephen, "Are these accusations true?" This was Stephen's reply, "Brother and fathers, listen to me. Our glorious God appeared to our ancestor Abraham in Mesopotamia before he settled in Haran. God told him, 'Leave your native land and your relatives and come into the land that I will show you.' So Abraham left the land of the Chaldeans and lived in Haran until his father died. Then God brought him here to the land where you live now. But God gave him no inheritance here, not even 1 square foot of land. God did promise, however, that eventually the whole land would belong to Abraham and his descendants, even though he had no children yet. God also told him that his descendants will live in a foreign land, where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, God said, and in the end they will come out and worship me here in this place." God also gave Abraham the covenant of the circumcision at that time. So when Abraham became the father of Isaac, he circumcised him on the 8th day, and the practice was continued when Isaac became the father of Jacob, and when Jacob became the father of the 12 patriarchs of the Israelite nation. These patriarchs were jealous of their brother Joseph, and they sold him to be a slave in Egypt, but God was with him and rescued him from all his troubles. And God gave him the favor before the Pharaoh, king of Egypt. God also gave Joseph unusual wisdom, so that the Pharaoh appointed him governor over all of Egypt and put him in charge of the palace. But a famine came upon Egypt and Canaan. There was great misery, and our ancestors ran out of food. Jacob heard that there was still grain in Egypt, so he sent his sons and our ancestors to buy some. The second time they went, Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers, and they were introduced to the Pharaoh. Then Joseph sent for his father, Jacob, and all his relatives to come to Egypt, 75 persons in all. So Jacob went to Egypt. He died there, as did our ancestors, and their bodies were taken to Shechem and buried in the tomb Abraham had bought for a certain price from Hamor's sons in Shechem. As the time drew near when God would fulfill his promise to Abraham, the number of our people in Egypt greatly increased. But then a new king came to the throne of Egypt who knew nothing about Joseph. This king exploited our people and oppressed them, forcing parents to abandon their newborn babies so they would die. At that time, Moses was born, a beautiful child in God's eyes. His parents cared for him at home for 3 months. When he had to abandon him, Pharaoh's daughter adopted him and raised him as her own son. And Moses was taught all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was powerful in both speech and action. One day, when Moses was 40 years old, he decided to visit his relatives, the people of Israel. He saw an Egyptian mistreating an Israelite. So Moses came to the man's defense and avenged him, killing the Egyptian. Moses assumed his fellow Israelite would realize that God had sent him to rescue them, but they didn't. Then the next day he visited them again and saw the 2 men of Israel fighting. He tried to be a peacemaker. "Men," he said, "you are brothers. Why are you fighting each other?" But the man in the wrong pushed Moses aside. "Who made you a ruler and judge over us?" he asked. "Are you going to kill me as you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" When Moses heard that, he fled the country and lived as a foreigner in the land of Midian. There his 2 sons were born. And now, chat, we're going to read Psalms 127, 1 through 5. Let me know, chat, if y'all want me to slow down if I'm reading too fast or anything like that. I don't want to rush. I want to read it at a pace that where y'all can, hear what I'm saying. So if it sounds like if I'm rushing or anything, just let me know. And now Psalms 127, 1 through 5. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. How joyful is a man whose quiver is full of them. He will not put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. Let's read this verse right here one more time, though, chat. Verse 2 from Psalms 127, 1 through 5. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. And I just wanted to read that one more time. And on Proverbs 16:28 through 30. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends. Violent people mislead their companions, leading them down a harmful path. With narrow eyes, people plot evil. With a smirk, they plan their mischief. And now, unless the Lord builds the house. Unless the Lord builds the house. Unless the Lord builds the house. When building our homes inside our houses, we need to use the materials of the Lord, or our homes will become traps rather than retreats. The Lord building materials are, first of all, love. If a home is without love, nothing is going to help. Since so many homes are without love, it is no wonder divorce is so common. Another material we need is kindness, and we need faith and trust in the Lord. If we have lost our love, kindness, faith, and trust, it's time to start rebuilding our homes. Oh man. I'm still going to ask for clarity, wisdom, and discernment on today's words. So give me 1 second, chat. I'm going to go ask for that, and then I'll be right back when I turn the camera back on. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, it is. Yes, ma'am, it is. You're right on the head, Nana. Let's go over today's verses really quickly. So today, chapter we read from 1 Kings 5:1 through 6. We followed it up with Acts 7:1 through 29. We also followed that up with Psalms 127, 1 through 5. And then we wrapped up tonight's word with Proverbs 16:28 through 30. Let's read these Proverbs really quickly. So Proverbs 16:28 through 30. A troublemaker plants seeds of strife. Gossip separates the best of friends, and violent people mislead their companions, leading them down a harmful path. With narrowed eyes, people plot evil. With a smirk, they plan their mischief. And I read that because this last piece here from unless the Lord builds a house, if we have lost our love, kindness, faith, and trust, it's time to start rebuilding our homes. It's time to start rebuilding the homes, chat. It's time to restart. If you're missing love in these foundations, if you're missing the love in this foundation in your home, then it's time to start rebuilding. You know, it's time to start, reworking everything. It's just time to make sure that you're putting love into everything you do, right? Right? Even when it comes to this guy destroying my stuff over there behind me, and then wanted to come and give me a kiss. He really just wants my love, right? He like needs it. It like gives him life, So it's also to remind, even when I'm like small things like when the boys destroy something in the house, right? To respond to whatever happened with still with love, because they're still my babies, right? Still my babies, So even in a situation that may not be the best situation. Still remember to respond with love, right? Remind yourself to respond with kindness, faith, and trust. Um, and if you catch yourself not responding that way, it's time to start rebuilding that foundation again, right? And I feel like it's a really great word. Um, when we go over 1 Kings 5, 1-6, we're really talking about how Solomon really followed the decrees, how much Solomon showed his love for God. Um, so it's a reminder, um, you know, we have all these things we have for everything else. Let's remind ourselves to, you know, save some of that praise for God. You know, Solomon shows so much praise for God in Kings 5, 1-6. It took 7 years to build the monument he built for God, right? So let's remind ourselves to save some of that love for God, right? And then Acts 7, 1-29. Oh, that's a great word. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Hold up. Um, Here we go. The next day he visited them again, saw two men in Israel fighting. He tried to be peacemaker. Men, he said, you are brothers. Why are you fighting each other? Oh my gosh, that's a great word from Acts today. Acts, you are brothers. You may be sisters. You may be relative, or they don't even gotta be like actual family members, right? But we're all brothers and sisters under God, under God, right? So why are we fighting each other, right? It's a great word from Acts today. Um, when you're fighting, when you're in the middle of a dispute or a fight um, um, with anybody, remember that's your brother or sister in some way. You know, that's your brother or sister in some way. So why are we fighting each other? Why are we fighting each other? Um, that was a very long story. It's a very long story to ask that question, but it's great though. Acts 7, 1-29. It goes over the story at the very end. This was what Stephen's reply: brothers and fathers, listen to me. Our glorious God appeared to our ancestors Abraham, and he talked about how they made it through everything together, right? What God had brought them through. So why are we fighting? If we're brothers and sisters and God has brought us this far, why are we still fighting? God has brought us this far. Why are we still fighting each other? Right? That's a full message. I only said the last part, but the full message is God has brought us this far. Why are we still fighting each other? You know, is it worth it? Is there a reason that we're still fighting each other? Are we getting something out of still fighting each other? Probably not. Right? And that's a great word from Acts. It's a great word from Acts, especially in the days we live in right now, where everybody's so triggered and so easily triggered, and ready to fight, and ready to fight at the flip of stuff, right? Um, and then we're going to talk about Psalms 127, 1-5. And I really want to just read these verses, right? I'm just going to read these verses because it's telling us exactly what it is, right? I don't have to, sit on this one. So unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat, for God gives rest to his loved ones. Children are a gift from the Lord, and a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. How joyful is the man whose quiver is full of them. He will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. Um, you know, unless God is building something, unless God was in the midst of this, amidst of whatever happened, it's not gonna last, right? Um, so remember the first part of this verses, remember to always have God as a part of it, right? No matter what it is you're building, no matter what thing it is that you're building, right? No matter what you're trying to do in life, always remember to have God as a part of it. Because unless God is a part of it, it ain't gonna last, right? And then the second verse, children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. But really, just children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. everybody's been blessed with some children. My boys, Eli and Alfie, my daughter, my lizard, Nubby, and her tank. Those are my kids. That's my kids for now. But everybody's been blessed with children. Remember, those are a reward from God. That's a blessing from God. That God was saying that I trust you with these kids. I trust you with them. I trust you to guide them, right? So, and it's a joy to have. It's a blessing. It's a joy to have for them to be around. Your kids a lot of times even if y'all don't have the best relationship sometimes, like I wouldn't say me and my dad have a bad relationship. I still think he's a cool person or whatever, right? But I still won't let nobody talk trash about my dad. You feel me? Yeah, or about my mom. Me and my mom real tight though. but you know, but you know, I will. Regardless, even if we're not cool, I'm not gonna let no stranger talk trash about them. You feel me? So I'm not gonna let no strangers. So he will not be put to shame when he confronts his accusers at the city gates. So when everybody doing trying to say this and this and that, whatever, those are the ones that's really going to come to the back for you. So, remember that they're a blessing, and that's your support system. That's your team. More than everybody else in the world, that's really the team. That's really the team. Those are the ones that come to bat for you, regardless of what happened in the world or what happened between y'all or anything. Everything ain't always nice. Life ain't always flowers and cherries and strawberries. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna let nobody talk about my mom or about my dad. You feel me? So, when your accusers are trying to say what this and this and that, whatever, then they'll come for you. Just like Eli and Alfie. If y'all come for me, Eli and Alfie gonna step. Eli and Alfie gonna step. Or Nubby gonna step. She a lizard in the tank, but she's still gonna step. She's still gonna step. Or they gonna show you when they jump on my lap and they want to spend time with me while I'm reading. So. And then Proverbs, we just talked about Proverbs 16:28-30. A troublemaker is somebody who's missing love, right? Somebody that's trying to cause trouble, they're missing the most important thing: love, kindness, faith, and trust, right? So if you catch yourself being a troublemaker, then you need to check yourself and remind yourself to move with love, right? And move with kindness, move with faith, and move with trust, right? Because you're only trying to cause trouble because you're missing those things, So let yourself be peaceful with God, right? Let yourself be peaceful with love. Remove with kindness, move with faith, and move with trust, right? I hope you enjoyed today's discussion, read today's word. I always enjoy it. It always brings my spirits up. No matter how I feel, no matter how I feel or how long my day was, reading the word always just, flips the day around for me. So, and don't forget to ask for wisdom, clarity, and discernment in every situation, but especially when you read the word, right? So you can get the real message from the word. You feel me? So, and it's not super serious. It's not always super serious. It can be fun. You can laugh, make jokes about it and stuff. I always add jokes in mine or whatever. I always joke around in mine. I'm not gonna take it too seriously because God not here for me to be in your face. Doing stuff like that, trying to be ultra serious. It's just not me. And so I'm gonna be who God made me to be, and that's not an ultra serious person. I like to laugh, I like to tell jokes. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's what God allows me to do. Allows me to read the word and have fun. Have fun with the word and taking the word how God sees fit for me to taking the word, but I can still smile and have a good time with it. Because the laughter really brings it into my heart for real. Laughing about it, telling jokes and stuff like it really brings it into my heart for real. So I hope you have a great rest of your night. We're about to slide. I'm about to get ready to go watch the fights with some friends. And I'm going to see y'all later. So let's hit this outro. We're going to limit the score, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. Thank you for waking up. Thank you for waking up today. Facts. You know, thank you for waking up today. And thank you for your presence. It's always appreciated. I'm gonna see you next time. Peace. Alfie always has to say bye, you know. So see you later. Peace.